Good day, everyone, and welcome to Valenzuela Live in Mathematics for Grade 6. I am Teacher Marlene Perduce, your mathematics teacher for today. We are now in the second week of the second quarter. And for our objectives for today are as follows. First, you need to find a missing term in a proportion, direct, inverse, and partitive. Second is to solve problems involving direct proportion, partitive proportion, and inverse proportion in different contexts such as distance, rate, and time using appropriate strategies and tools. So our lesson is just a continuation of your last week topics, which is all about ratio and proportion. So today, I will discuss to you the three types of proportion, which are direct, inverse, and partitive proportion. But before we begin, may I remind everyone to please prepare your module, pen, and paper. And to participate in our discussion, you can write down your answer by typing in your answer in the comment section. Okay, so are you ready? Let's begin. For our first activity, you need to find the ratios that form a proportion. We know that proportion is a statement of two equal ratios. So you will be given puzzle pieces with ratio, and all you have to do is to look for its equivalent ratio. So let's begin. For our first piece, what is the equivalent ratio of 1 to 2? You can write it down in the comment section. Okay, correct. The answer for that is 3 to 6. How about for our second piece? What is the equivalent ratio of 2 to 3? Correct. 2 to 3 is proportion to 10 to 15. How about for the third piece? 12 to 3. What is the equivalent ratio of 12 to 3? That's right. 12 to 3 is proportion to 4 to 1. And for the last piece, 8 to 48. What is the equivalent ratio of 8 to 48? Good job, grade 6. 8 to 48 is proportion to 1 to 6. Okay, very good. So you already know that proportion is formed when two ratios are equal. So let us now answer some word problems involving proportion. And let us find out how we can identify the three types of proportion. So this is our first problem. Mrs. Yu uses 2 cups of water for every cup of dry rice. This is enough to serve 3 visitors. How many cups of dry rice and cups of water does she need to serve 12 visitors? So based on the problem, you will be needing 2 cups of water for every 1 cup of dry rice, which is good to serve 3 visitors. And the ratio for this is 2 to 1 to 3. But how about if there are 12 visitors to be served? How many cups of water and cups of dry rice are needed? So to solve this problem, one of the ways to solve it is through illustration. Again, using the ratio that we have, 2 cups of water for every 1 cup of dry rice, which is good for 3 visitors. And the ratio for this is 2 to 1 to 3. But how about if we have 6 visitors? How many cups of water and cups of dry rice you will be needing? So the number of cups of water and dry rice will be doubled since since there are, for every 3 visitors, there are 2 cups of water and 1 cup of dry rice. So for another 3 visitors, there will be 2 cups of water and 1 cup of dry rice. And the ratio will be 4 to 2 to 6. So observe that from the original ratio, you just have to multiply all the terms by 2. So 2 times 2 equals 4, 1 times 2 equals 2, and 3 times 2 equals 6. And we now get the ratio 4 to 2 to 6. But what if we have 9 visitors? How many cups of water and cups of dry rice you will be needing? Again, just like what we did a while ago, so you just have to multiply the original ratio by 3. And our ratio will be 6 to 3 to 9. So there will be 6 cups of water and 3 cups of dry rice. And for the last, what if we have 12 visitors? Again, how many cups of water and cups of dry rice you will be needing? Yes, that's right. So you just have to multiply again 4 to our original ratio, and that will be 8 to 4 to 12. So there will be 8 cups of water and 4 cups of dry rice for every 12 visitors. So from the given problem, we can see that the more number of visitors there are, the more number of cups of water and number of cups of dry rice are needed. So this is an example of direct proportion. So direct proportion means when one quantity increases, the other quantity increases at the same rate. Or it can be vice versa. So just like in our problem, when the number of visitors increases, the number of cups of water and cups of dry rice will also be increases. And if the number of visitors decreases, there is a chance that the number of cups of water and the number of cups of dry rice will also be decreases. We can also solve direct proportion this way. So again, let us write the first ratio. 2 to 1, 2 cups of water to 1 cup of dry rice to 3 visitors is directly proportional to N to M to 12 visitors, wherein N is the number of cups of water and M is the number of cups of dry rice. So using the proportion that we have, let us solve it first by using the 4 terms. So those are 1 to 3 is equal to M to 12. So again, let M be the number of cups of dry rice. Using our proportion, 1 to 3 is equal to M to 12, which can also be written in this form. 1 over 3 is equal to M over 12. So get the cross product. 3 times M is equal to 1 times 12. So 3 times M equals 3M, and 1 times 12 equals 12. And then divide both sides by 3. So 3 divided by 3 equals M is equal to 12 divided by 3, and that is equal to 4. Which is the number of cups of dry rice that we needed, or that we need. This time, let us find the number of cups of water using the 4 terms. So using the proportion, 2 to 3 is equal to N to 12, which can also be written as 2 over 3 equals to N over 12. So get the cross product. 3 times N is equal to 2 times 12. And 3 times n equals 3n is equal to 2 times 12, and that's equal to 24. And divide again both sides by 3. So n is equal to 24 divided by 4. 24 divided by 3 equals 8. So they needed 8 cups of water. So as you can see, we get the same answer when we use the pictorial and when we solve it in this way. So let us proceed now in problem number 2. Let me read first the problem. Under ECQ, most of the family members were required to stay at home for safety reasons. So food packs were given by the city of Valenzuela, consumable for 15 days. This food supply is sufficient for 5 members of the family. If 5 more members of the family were added, how long will the food last? So there are 2 quantities that we need to consider in this problem. Those are the number of family members and the number of days in the problem. So based on the problem, the food packs, which is consumable for 15 days, is only sufficient for 5 members of the family. So if 5 more members of the family were added, so the total number of family members now will be equal to 10. So will it be sufficient for 15 days? No, it will not. So the more family members who will consume the food, the less number of days there will be. So this problem is an example of inverse or indirect proportion. So when we say inverse or indirect proportion, that is when one quantity increases, the other quantity decreases, and vice versa. And in this problem, when the number of family members increases, the number of days the number of days will decreases, and vice versa. So to solve this problem, let n be the number of days. So we have here our proportion, that is 5 to 10 is equal to n to 15. Or the number of family members, 5 to 10, inversely proportion to the number of days, which is n to 15. So we can write it also in a fraction form. So 5 over 10 is equal to n over 15. Then get the cross products. So 10 times n is equal to 5 times 15. So 10 times n equals 10n, and 5 times 15 equals 75. Then divide both sides by 10. So n is equal to 75 divided by 10, and then the answer is 7.5, or the food will only last for 7.5 days for 10 family members. So let us now proceed to problem number 3. So let me read first again the problem. Theo decided to have a Wi-Fi connection at home in preparation for Anna's schooling this year. So the total monthly cost for 25 Mbps with additional installation fee is 1,650 pesos per month. He shared the connection to his 2 relatives who are now in work from home setup. They divided the payment in 2 to 3 to 5 in favor of him. So how much will each person pay per month? So in this problem, this is an example of partitive proportion. Why? Because the monthly bill, which is cost 1,650, is divided into parts that are proportional to the given ratio of 2 to 3 to 5. And this is an example of partitive proportion, wherein a whole is divided into parts that is proportional to the given ratio. So going back to the problem, let us try to solve it using the block model or the bar model. So the whole block here serves as the monthly bill, which is 1,650 pesos, divided into parts that are proportional to the given ratio, which is 2 to 3 to 5. So from the ratio, TU gets 2 parts, relative A gets 3 parts, and relative B gets 5 parts. And if we get the total number of parts, so the whole will be divided into 10 parts. So divide 1,650 by 10, and the answer is 165 or 165. So each part has a value of 165. So going back to the ratio, as to the parts of each person, since Theo has 2 parts, so you just have to multiply 165 by 2. So 165 times 2 equals to 330, and that is for Theo. And relative A has 3 parts, so they multiply 165 by 3, and the answer is 495, and that is for relative A. And the last, multiply again 165 by 5, and we get 825, and that is for relative B. We can also solve the problem this way. So let N be the amount of each person will pay. So using again our proportion 2 to 3 to 5, which is equal to 1,650. And then multiply each term of the ratio to N and get the total. So that will be 2N plus 3N plus 5N equals to 1,650. So add 2N, 3N, and 5N. That is equal to 10N. Equals 1,650. Then divide both sides by 10. So N is equal to 1,650 divided by 10, and that is equal to 165. So therefore, not yet. So based on the ratio, we will just have to multiply the value of N to the parts of each person. So Theo again has 2N. So multiply 165 by 2. So 2 times 165, and that is equal to 330. For relative A, multiply 165 by 3, and that is equal to 495. And for relative B, you just have to multiply 165 by 5, and that is equal to 825. So therefore, Theo will pay 330 pesos, and the other 2 relatives will pay 495 pesos and 825 pesos respectively. And that is how we solve the word problem involving partitive proportion. So let's check your understanding by doing this activity. So here's the direction. All you have to do is to solve and identify what type of proportion is the given problem. So I will read first the problem and help me identify what type of proportion are they given with the given time. So you will be given 1 minute to solve each problem. So are you ready? Okay, let's start. For problem number 1, Rico had 24 seeds of okra. He shared them with his 3 siblings in the ratio of 1 to 2 to 3. How many seeds did each of them receive? So your 1 minute, your 1 minute time start now. Okay. Okay, time's up. So for problem number 1, this is an example of partitive proportion. So let's look at the solution on how to solve this. Okay, so n is equal to 4, wherein n is the number of seed for each sibling. So we just have to multiply n to our ratio, which is 1 to 2 to 3. So 4 times 1 equals 4, 4 times 2 equals 8, and 4 times 3 equals 12. So therefore, the 3 siblings will get 4, 8, and 12 seeds, respectively. For problem number 2, what is the cost of 10 dozens of coffee sachet if 2 dozens of coffee sachet cost 120 pesos? So your 1 minute timer starts now. Wala. Okay, time's up. So for problem number 2, this is an example of direct proportion. So to solve this, let's look at the solution. Okay, so n is equal to 600, wherein n is the cost of 10 dozens of coffee sachet. So using the proportion n to 10 to n is equal to 2 to 120. So therefore, 2 dozens of coffee sachet cost 600 pesos. For problem number 3, 4 girls can finish washing clothes in 6 hours. How long will it take for 6 girls to finish the same job? Your 1-minute time starts now. Okay, time's up. For the last problem, this is an example of inverse or indirect proportion. So to solve for this, let's look at the solution. Okay, so n is equal to 4, wherein n is a number of hours for 6 girls to finish the same job. So using our proportion, 4 to 6 is equal to n to 6. So therefore, our answer is 6 girls can finish the job in 4 hours. So remember, class, indirect proportion, when one quantity increases, the other quantity increases at the same rate and vice versa. But in inverse proportion, when one quantity increases, the other quantity decreases and vice versa. And for the last type, in partitive proportion, a whole is divided into parts that is proportional to the given ratio. So for your additional activity, please answer what's more, page 6, and this is the copy of your assignment. So thank you, grade 6, for listening and for your active participation. So hope you learn a lot, and see you again next time. Bye!